All right, so we're back with number 2 of the Airbourne collection. This is Joel's amp. It's an early 80s JCM800 2203, the 100 watt amp. This one, look, it sounded really ordinary, like pretty bad actually. And on inspection on the bench, you will see why. So just like in the first clip in this series, which I'll put a link to that video right now, we're going to do a before and after tone test. So I've recorded myself playing a simple AC/DC riff. We're going to reamp that through this amplifier before the changes and after the changes, so you'll get an A/B comparison. Right, so let's get into it. Alright guys, so just continuing on with the Airbourne amplifiers. This is another one of Joel's. It's an early 80s 800 2203. This is an 82. I have just reversed out a couple of very small mods, but I really wanted to roll the tape here to demonstrate something that it can be quite common in an amplifier of this age and is a huge contributor to why some amps sound good and others sound like shit. So just quickly on the mods, someone to put a 22k resistor here in parallel with the 10k. This is our 10k cathode for the second stage, the infamous cold clipper gain stage. Interestingly, only one side of this was actually soldered in properly. So I just literally I took some measurements and realized it wasn't soldered in properly. So I got my pliers and pulled one end of this resistor that was here, and it just pulled, one end just pulled straight out. So anyway, that was a disaster. And someone had put a fixed depth circuit just on the negative feedback line here, which was a 100k resistor in parallel with a 470 picofarad. I didn't even listen to that. I just pulled it straight out because Joel wants these amps as if they just left the factory. Now, the thing I wanted to demonstrate, and you'll hear it in the clip, right, because I have just recorded, reamped that AC/DC riff that I've been playing on these videos back through this amplifier. And it sounds pretty bloody awful, to be honest. Now, when you kind of go through and service one of these things, or check it over, right, and I've shown this on the channel before, you can go through and measure. Most of the resistors on the board will measure okay with a good meter, right? So 10k, this should be 2k7. Look at that, right on, right? And so on and so forth. 100k plate resistor here, that's 99, that's all cool. Now, all the way down here, these are the plate resistors for the phase inverter, okay, which is this guy right here. 82k and 100k. So let's measure 82. Okay, that's still fine. Let's measure the 100k. 1.4 meg. Not okay. Not fucking okay. Now, let me demonstrate this another way. So you can measure it with the, just like I did there, with the meter measuring resistance. The other way to check the health of an amp like this is to just check voltages. So I've just powered this amp on. And you can kind of check the voltages of this thing. There you go. Now I've powered it on. You can check the voltages of this thing at the pins, right? Like, V1. You can see it's cranking up, right? Because it's still, the amp is still warming up. These are the plate resistors. So on this side, that's our supply node for V1. Okay, and on this side is actually, the plate voltage for each of these triodes. And you kind of, in a 2203, this is what you expect, kind of mid 200s. You can do the same thing on here. So this is one side. This is V2A, right, 170, and then the plate on the cathode follower, and on the cathode of the cathode follower, you kind of expect something in the I was going to say mid hundreds. Yeah, 170, so that's cool. Now the phase inverter, you kind of expect also some voltages in here to be quite high, and you can see that the supply node for the phase inverter is 335 in this amplifier, which is perfect. All right, 185 on this side. This side's 100. Now that's way under, right? So basically the headroom in this phase inverter is going to be shit, right? It's not going to have any headroom, so it's going to get pushed into clipping real quick, and the size of this plate load resistor is just screwing up the performance of this triode completely. So it's going to be unbalanced as well. So your phase inverter or the phase splitter has to split the signal, and you want the amplitude on each side, V3A and V3B, to basically be the same, right? Because then they're going to drive the push-pull power amp. So so quick voltage check here, right? 100 volts. If I'd measured the voltage first before I actually measured the resistance on these resistors, there's a dead giveaway there. A voltage drop of 235 volts across a 100k resistor. Yeah, I don't think so. So we're going to pull the board, and I have to replace just that one resistor. The rest of the amp is actually checking out okay. Alrighty, so got the new 100k resistor in here, and I spoke a little too soon. I had to replace this. This is the base pot. Now this was the pot that was in there, and when I rolled the tape the first time, I hadn't actually measured all of the pots yet, and even in circuit, yeah, 1.5, there you go, 1.45 meg. Should be 1 meg, just from outer lug to outer lug, right? So you guys probably know this, but in these amps anyway, 25k linear. In an old Plexi, that'll be 5k. 1 meg audio taper, 25k linear, 250k linear, so that's bass, middle, treble, master volume and preamp, 1 meg audio. And you can generally measure all of these just on their outer lugs, like this treble pot, for example. 230 is fine. These you'll get strange readings because of what they're connected to upstream and downstream. So you can easily just kind of unsolder one of these, like on the volume pot here, unsolder this red wire on the input, measure across it. You'll get 1 meg. All right, so let's have a look at the voltages now at this phase inverter with the new correct 100k. So remember that on the pins here we had 185 and 100 across here. So now we're at 204 where the 82k is. There it is there. And for the 100k, 205, right? Remember this was 100k before. And there it is on the pin. It's the exact same reading. Now, interestingly, with the 185 for the 82k, it's changed. And the reason for that is because there's a shared cathode. All right, here, 39 volts on the cathode, and it's bridged across. So both triodes have the shared cathode on a long tail pair phase inverter. So the voltages from the relative voltages on one side will affect the other, because we would have had a different cathode voltage here. In any event, this is now looking correct and balanced. So we're going to reamp that loop back through this amp and see how it sounds. If you're into DIY and modding, then head over to our DIY supply store over at EvolveDIY.com. And if you're ready for the real thing, then do check out our amps at headfirstamps.com. Links down in the description of the video.